We're live? It's going live. No, it's going in a minute.
I'm on.
We're on. Because we're streaming now. We're okay? Okay. Welcome, everyone, to Poughkeepsie City Schools District's Board of Education meeting of June 18, 2025. Our apologies for the delay in our start of our meeting. We were in executive session where we were discussing personnel matters that we can't discuss while here on the floor. If we can please have a call to order from a roll call. My apologies.
Dr. Reeser? Ms. Boyce Hedon?
Present.
Judge O'Neill?
Here.
Mr. Creedon?
Here.
Ms. Martinez Santiago?
Present. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Into our public comment section of the meeting. Before we engage in our public comments, I'd like to share our board policy. The Board of Education recognizes the value to school governance of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. In order to permit the fair and orderly expression of such comment, the board shall provide a citizen comment period at every public meeting of the board. There will be a citizen comment period at the beginning of the meeting, and if needed, a second comment period will be at the end of the meeting as indicated on the agenda. The initial comment period is limited to 30 minutes. During the initial comment period, those persons wishing to speak regarding agenda items will be heard first. If time permits, comments on non-agenda items will be heard until the 30 minutes time limit is reached. If due to the 30-minute time limit, there are any residents not able to speak during the first comment period, they will be afforded an opportunity to speak at the comment period at the end of the meeting. The second comment period will only occur if there is insufficient time during the first comment period to hear all those wishing to speak. Residents shall only be allowed to speak once per meeting. The following rules shall govern such participation and shall be administered by presiding officer whose decision may overruled by a majority of the board. 1, public participation shall be permitted as indicated on the order of business in the bylaws of this board or by majority consent of the board upon a motion to suspend the rules of order. 2, any group or organization wishing to address the board must identify a single spokesperson. 3, no employee of the district may address the board at a public meeting on an employment-related matter, which may be otherwise remedied by resort to communication with a supervisor or administrator and/or pursuant to board policy and/or collective bargaining procedures and/or a general employment or contractual grievance procedure. Nothing herein shall be interpreted to restrict the rights of district employees to speak at public board meetings on matters of public concern. 4, neither the board nor superintendent will enter into a debate or discussion with any person while they remain at the microphone. At the discretion of the presiding officer, the board or superintendent may respond to comments made by members of the public after they have returned to their seat. The board will not permit in public session, this is 5, involving individual district personnel. Persons wishing to discuss matters involving individual district personnel should present their comments and/or concerns to the superintendent during regular business hours or to the board in writing. The fact that there is no public discussion regarding individual district personnel is not an indication that the board is not involved or doesn't care about an issue. The superintendent and staff will keep the board apprised of all personnel-related matters. 6, the board will not permit in public session discussion involving matters made confidential by law, including but not limited to the Family Educational Rights and Privacies Act, FERPA. Persons wishing to discuss matters made confidential by law should present their comments and/or concerns to the superintendent during regular business hours or to the board in writing. Participants must be recognized, number 7, by the presiding officer and must preface their comments by an announcement of their name, address, and group affiliation if appropriate. Statements made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes duration and each speaker to 1 appearance per meeting. That's number 8. Number 9, all statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participation may address or question board members individually. Number 10, all speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Obscene language, libelous statements, threats of violence, statements advocating illegal acts or unlawful discrimination will not be tolerated. Number 11, the presiding officer may call a point of order and interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement when the statement is too lengthy, is materially disruptive to orderly conduct of the meetings, or in violation of district policy. And for the record, the last time this policy was revised was September 3rd, 2014. We also have our legal counsel participating on this meeting and will enter into our public comments should we need our legal counsel to bring order. Do we have a list of folks requesting to make public comments? If anyone online wishes to make a public comment, please share that you are interested in making a public comment. Can I please have to the mic Dr. Deborah Long?
Deborah Long, 197 Mill Street, Poughkeepsie, New York, 12601. So there seems to be several things being surfaced, either online, through text or email. So I wanted to come and I wanted to respond. So I want to extend a congratulations on the recent appointment of Mr. Gregory Mott, the new superintendent. This is a tremendous milestone, and I'm confident that under his leadership, the district is well positioned for positive, transformative growth. From what I've seen and heard, his commitment to accountability and transparency are both clear and commendable. I have every confidence that you will not only rise to meet the demands of this role, but exceed the expectations of your predecessor. Your determination to uphold high standards and ensure responsibility at all levels is exactly what our district needs. As we look to the future, I urge the district to place strong emphasis on hiring qualified guidance counselors. Over the past several months, I've made several attempts to reach out to the eighth grade guidance counselor regarding student concerns. And to date, I have yet received a response. Our students deserve accessible, responsive support to help them navigate through academic and personal challenges. I also want to bring to the attention of the ongoing disparities in compensation, particularly along the non-instructional staff, such as the security personnel, the bus drivers, and the one-to-ones, etc. All frontline employees serve a vital role, often under difficult and high-stress conditions. Yet their pay remains disproportionately low compared to administrative and supervisory positions. It is both unfair and demoralizing. These dedicated individuals deserve competitive wages, recognition, and opportunities for advancement. In closing, I want to express my full support for the vision of our upcoming leadership. I am hopeful that, and together we can build a district where all students and staff feel valued, supported, and safe. Thank you for your time, consideration, and I look forward to witnessing a positive change that this leadership will bring.
Thank you, Dr. Long. Can I please have Dr. Felicia Watson to the mic?
Good evening, board, honorable board. Okay. My name is Felicia Watson, and my permanent address is 93 Garden Street. It's been said that it takes a village to move a district forward and to achieve real measurable gains in our students' success. As a community, we celebrate the progress made this year in the Poughkeepsie City School District, from reconfiguration and new busing to an extended Spanish language program, capital improvements, new staff, student programs, and even recently, a more polished website. It's beautiful. This shows exactly what happens when parents, staff, elected officials, and the faith-based community work together and obtain real sustained progress. And I would ask all of our faith-based people to please stand. That said, many in the community have asked me to bring forward some of their concerns tonight. I urge the faith-based community, the Common Council, we have Councilmember James here, and all concerned citizens to attend, because collaboration is the only way to collectively move forward. The new superintendent issue may be somewhat moot, at least in my opinion, but the concerns about process remain. While I fully support the individuals selected, the community feels it was blindsided by the interim to permanent shift with no public introduction, input, or engagement. That decision, made in haste and behind closed doors, sent the message, I don't believe this board intended. Perhaps a town hall or another forum could help reestablish trust. I did see a pop-up posted on the district website for community input specific to the new strategic plan through June 27th, but most may not see it and respond, so we should probably do something about that to really push that out. There have also been repeated violations of the open meetings law, specifically section 103E, which requires agendas and resolutions to be posted at least 72 hours in advance, if possible. This has not been consistently followed. Walk-on items, late postings, and missing attachments hurt transparency and public confidence. Meetings starting late and going into the night are also frustrating for citizens and staff. I'm sure it's that way for each of you too. The community simply asks for more respect and consideration. Also, Madam Board Clerk, many blame you, but I explained that these late postings and mishaps were not your fault. Concerns continue around cronyism and perceived predetermined hiring, especially with the recent assistant superintendent posting with qualification requirements that are typical, that are atypical, and that appear to be earmarked for a specific internal candidate. These practices erode trust. All of this undermines the very spirit of service and the work being done by this amazing governance team. But still, there is hope. Like any governing body, there have been mistakes. Madam President, can I just finish up?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. But mistakes should be acknowledged and lessons learned. On another note, we all know that at the school district, as goes the school district, so goes the city. I think most are aware of all of the amazing work happening across Poughkeepsie, from the Downtown Revitalization Initiative and the Poughkeepsie Choice Grant to Scenic Hudson projects. And we can't neglect acknowledging the fine initiatives of our Mayor, Yvonne Flowers, Council Chair Deron Wilton, and the entire Common Council. This Common Council team has been the most united I have ever seen. And so, beautiful people, all this being said, the bottom line is this: we cannot go back. We cannot go back to any behavior that separates this district and this community. I've heard talk of flipping the board in 2026. That should not have to be the way this community has to operate. With steady, focused leadership, this governance team can continue to build a strong foundation. As I wrap it up, I want to thank Dr. Rosser for his 5+ years of service. Some believe there was great success, others had concerns. But I thank God for you, Dr. Rosser, and I'll say it again. I thank God for you and the shift under your leadership that happened in this district, because I know where it was. I wish you well in Rochester, and please tell your lovely wife, Tara, thanks for hanging in there, because this was tough on her. Tell her I said, thanks for hanging in there. And to you, Dr. Reeser, thank you for your 6 years of dedicated service, and specifically your work updating district policy. That was major, and we super appreciate you for that. So, beautiful people, we are all in this movement together. Let's move forward in transparency, honesty, and respect for the sake of our students, families, staff, district, our community at large. United we stand, divided we fall. Let's do this. I'm going to ask one more thing. Can I come on the dais to hug Dr. Rosser, because I'm going to end up leaving in Dr. Reeser, because these are individuals that I respect to the utmost. I mean, as well as all of you, but they're leaving. So I want to come up there if you don't mind. Is that okay, board? Or no? Okay, the judge said okay, so if the judge says it, it's okay.
If you can step over. If I can please have Carmen McGill at the mic, please.
Good evening. Carmen McGill, 78 Glenwood Avenue. My children have been coming to this school district since 1980. I have been active since 1980. Bob Creedon and I have been through a lot. So I just, and I continue to be, but since I don't have children in the district now, it's not as easy to know exactly what is going on. Not what we think is going on, but is actually going on. And I just want to say that I'm looking forward to the success of this next board. There will be 2 board members as of next month, 2 board members who have children in the district. I am quite sure that their main interest is going to be for whatever the benefit is for their
Absolutely.
children. So if that is the case, then the rest of you need to understand also what those concerns are, and evaluate them individually, and hopefully everything that we do this year will be for the benefit of the children and not politics. Thank you.
Thank you. So we typically limit to the individuals that have signed. We do have someone online, which I'm going to allow, since they announced that they'd like to make a statement. That would be Tatiana Perez. Then I will, out of courtesy to those that have arrived late, if you had a desire to make a comment, that you can do so. Tatiana Perez, are you ready to make a comment? You'll have to come on screen.
Hi, sorry. I'm trying to figure out the Zoom for my camera right now, but I am here.
We cannot have you make a comment unless you're on camera. So we'll
Hi.
wait about 30 seconds. Give us 1 second because we have to get you on screen. There we go. We see you now.
Okay. Hi, good
1 second.
evening.
Yes, to put the timer on. Our board.
Okay.
We could do it on the phone and we can hear it ring.
Am I allowed to speak now?
Are we good? Yep, you can speak
Okay.
now.
Hi, good evening. So my name is Tatiana Perez and I live at 8 Hudson Heights Drive. I wanted to come and share a concern as a parent of a current student and specifically to call for better information with regards to dates that students are expected or that school will be half days or the give back dates. As a parent in the district for the last 2 years, my experience has been consistent in receiving last minute information. And even ahead of next week, being the last 3 days of school, rumors are that the last 3 days are going to be half days, but I have not received any official information from the district detailing that. However, in the past, last year, we did receive information very last minute. So as a parent, in terms of transparency and working together, I would like to bring that concern forward to the district, to do new leadership, to consider that in the future and being forthcoming and planning ahead. As a parent, a working parent, 2 full-time working parents, it's really hard to navigate last minute reduction of schooling per se and accommodations in terms of childcare when our schedules demand a full 8 to 5. So that was just my comment for tonight, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all.
Tatiana Perez, our superintendent, is going to respond to you in 1 sec.
Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you very much for bringing your comments to our attention. I will share with you that, yes, we are a little bit late with communicating this year about the half days. We were working through some specifics on whether or not the half days would be awarded. We needed to make sure a number of things. We needed to make sure, number one, that per state requirement, that our elementary schools are meeting the number of minutes or hours that students need to be in instruction, and we just figured that out today. We're planning to no later than Friday morning communication to come out from my office, as it typically does at the beginning of the month, alerting parents as to whether or not those half days. So if your children are currently in an elementary school, those half days will be awarded, and we may also be making some announcements about other buildings as well.
Thank you for that information. I would appreciate just perhaps understanding or sharing in terms of advocating for the parents and the children that that process becomes a little bit more timely. And just in this particular regard, I have a 1-year-old that needs surgery on Monday. So now navigating that, I have to figure out how I'm going to pick up my 5-year-old from kindergarten last minute. It's really tough. So this is my experience. I understand that, but I can only imagine that is not the experience of just one person. Thank you again.
Point well taken, and our apologies for not getting the information out earlier. As I mentioned, there's been a few things happening behind the scenes that we needed to make sure that before making the announcement, that we were making the announcement based upon that information and some of the things that have been worked out as of today.
Board President, can I ask a question on that topic or?
Not this moment, because we're still in the public comment section, but absolutely, we can open up to your question afterwards.
Thank you.
Is there anyone present here that wanted to share public comments? Okay, there being none, we are now closing the public comments portion of this meeting. Trustee Royce, so that we don't fall too away from the topic, do you want to make your question now?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be answered now, but since it was brought up, I actually was going to ask later in my comments. I know that there was a day that potentially Krieger had to make up because of the power outage. I'm curious to know if that's part of the conversation because we are in the 11th hour and I think that needs to be put forth. Also and I'll bring this back up in my comments later, just the calendar days. So Dr. Rosser, you brought it up because I was going to question that. I counted the days with the snow days embedded and it seemed there wasn't enough days to cover the 180 days. So I'm glad it was brought up. It is in the 11th hour, but I'm wondering too about the Krieger piece. Thank you.
Since we're commenting on it,
Can I just, so
Yeah.
for parents who have children at Krieger, as I mentioned to Ms. Perez, the elementary schools will be afforded the half day. So Krieger is not impacted based upon that day in which they were not in instruction due to the power outage.
because I happen to be a parent in the school district and having to navigate three multiple schedules at any given time, I certainly appreciate your comments, Tatiana, regarding the schedule, and as a working parent, trying to like find all the things. So we definitely got to work on that and get better at that. Okay, Dr. Rosser?
Okay, so this portion of our meeting, as per board policy, we have the responsibility to make sure that there are updates, frequent updates to the Board of Education and our community around our financial state. As per policy, we will be providing a presentation this evening on a number of things that fall under district finances. We will be giving an update on the transportation work that's been taking place, as everyone is fully aware, based upon voter approval, based upon the hard work and effort of Ms. Lakai and others. We've been able to, and Mr. Mott, we've been able to identify funding to be able to provide transportation for any student who lives 0.5 miles beyond the school in which they're assigned to. So Ms. Lakai is going to be providing an update on that. We're going to be providing a general update on the end of year finances of the district. We're going to be providing an update on our capital project and the bonding and debt services associated with every capital project. And then lastly, Ms. Lakai is going to be sharing some insight as to what the community and our Board of Education can expect as it relates to financial planning. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Lakai to provide the presentation.
Thank you, Dr.
I
Rosser.
may want to go there because I'm not certain if it's going to pick you up right there.
Okay.
Okay? Is the camera going to pick her up over there? So Ms. Lakai, if you would like to get started, that would be perfect.
Thank you, Dr. Rosser. Good evening, community members. Good evening, the board and administration. Thank you for having us over here to provide you with our monthly financial update. And as we go through the process of anything we do in this district, everything is guided by our mission statement, which we are champions of children who inspire and nurture the whole child by providing innovative, high-quality education opportunities that prepare all of our students to embark an individual path of success in a globally diverse community. The agenda, tonight's agenda, it's going to be, as Dr. Rosser stated, update on transportation, 24-25 end of the year update, bonding and debt service update, and then we're going to provide you with our plan of 25-26 financial overview. The transportation update, and some key updates. We've been working diligently and whole year and to prepare us for the 25-26 transportation services. Therefore, the transportation request for proposal has been advertised and will be publicly open on June 24th in this building. The district plans to review, score, and present to the board the transportation at the first July meeting. Routing updates. Last week, we had an opportunity to meet with our representatives from Bus Ride. That was last Friday. They are in the final stages of finalizing our bus routes right now. Therefore, we will have 25-26 school year. We will have all bus rides, but new bus routes in place to assist in our transportation. In addition to that, we had a conversation with them about providing training for our bus drivers. So they're going to be coming sometimes beginning of July and train all our drivers on how to use their tablets. So we are prepared early in advance for our transportation routes. Next slide, please. The next update that we given tonight is on our accounting update. So as we get in the close of the end of the year, We are very busy in a business office, so the district is currently finalizing all the invoices and preparing to close out the 24-25 school year. How do we do this? So we have some preliminary schedules that we are required to do. So we are scheduled to have a preliminary visit by our external auditors on June 25th, 2025. Therefore, right now, we are providing a lot of stuff on the portal, a lot of financial updates to them so they can be ready when they visit us on the 25th. And the next meeting, the next schedule that we have by the external auditors is going to be in September of 2025, first week of September, and that is going to be our final audit, in which case they're going to be having a preliminary review and have a draft for the Audit and Finance Committee and the Board of Education. And our financial statement deadlines are October 25th, 25, which the district must submit them by that date at midnight. So what are the next steps to make sure we are sure that everything it's timely implemented and we meet all the deadlines? During the next few months, the district will assess its revenues and expenses to determine the appropriation allocations of the fund balance. This review aims to inform decision to the Board of Education at the first August meeting regarding the distributions of the remaining funds for 24-25 school year. In addition to that, the district will continue closing our financial statements throughout the summer and prepare for the upcoming final external audit. The district external audit firm will present to the audit report to the Audit and Finance Committee and the Board of Education. And then finally, the district will be submitting the financial statements, the extra classroom audit, and the single audit. It's not due on the October 15th, but it's also part of the district external audit. It will prepare, present to the board will approve the resolution, and then we will go on the portal and submit that by October 15th of 2025 deadline. Next slide, please. As our bond matured, we were required to go for bonding for our capital projects. And as you all heard at the last board meeting, we have so many good things happening in our district when it comes to capital project. Therefore, by maintaining proactive financial management on capital project funding, the Poughkeepsie City School District 20 million bond anticipation notes that closes on June 23rd of this month attained a net interest rate of 3.23. That was a very good news for the district, because when we went out for bonding, we worked together with our financial advisors, bond counselors. Mr. Hogan was part of the team at that time. We anticipated approximately 4% interest rate. However, when the bids came back, we got 3.23, which approximately saved district $155,000 less interest on interest payments. And in addition to that, Moody Investor Service has assigned an MIG1 rating to the district for our 20 million bond anticipation notes. This is like the highest rate. So it goes M1, 2, 3. This is the highest rate on borrowing, on short-term borrowing, which it's really outstanding for the district and demonstrates that we're going to have a really good probability as we borrow in the future. S&P upgraded in addition to that, S&P upgraded district ratings in June of 24 from A- to A, which reflects that the district finances have improved. We've been managing the budgets much efficiently, and our spending practices has been improved. Describing that in more simple words, that means that we've been paying all our bills on time. We've been making sure all our bonding is submitted and paid timely. Therefore, our finances are improving consistently, in which case our bond rating is improving consistently. And we want to keep it that way and get even better. After we issue this bond this year, we will carry approximately $57 million in outstanding debt, which means with the rate we are right now, with MIG1 rating, indicates a very strong capacity to meet our financial commitments and reflects the district's solid credit profile. For the community and the board information, I just put the rating scale there, so we have an idea where we are if you look at our A+ rating scales. That means we are in pretty good shape and medium grade and low credit risk. Next, please.
I'm sorry, Ms. Lakai, because now that we have a really good audience here, can you please express why that's really good for us? the
That is,
context behind it. Because I don't
Yes.
think people understand that that is actually major progress for us. And what's the benefit in having this grade now?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, I will be more than glad to explain that. What happens is when we go out for borrowing, when we go out to borrow funds for our capital projects, just like if you go borrow the mortgage, I'm going to compare it if you go borrow mortgage on for your personal. I'm going to compare that with the personal finances. The better your credit score is, that means the better rate you're going to get. And that's really very simple. Explain just like for your personal finances. And how do you maintain that credit score in a great thing? By paying your bills on time, by invoices. So as we get your invoices, we're not late with any invoices, by making sure when you borrow the funds, you pay your debt service on time, because when we borrow money against our bonds, then we have to pay debt service and interest at the same time. So all this, and definitely it's not in a vacuum. That means by everybody in the district being proactive, the business office being proactive, our financial advisors are proactive, our construction managements are proactive, our facilities are proactive. So it is like a teamwork. More we work together as a team, the district gets better, not just in finances, but in every way possible.
But what I mean is that historically, we were in the red.
That is correct.
And we were laying people off.
That is correct.
Can we say what year that was?
That was in 2020. That was my first year here. We had to access approximately 60 positions from the district based upon what I call our poor resource stewardship when it came to our financial resources. Under the school district strategic plan, of course, the board then approved the plan for us to really be mindful and very strategic with how we handle our financial resources. And over time, as people will recollect, we have changed the dynamics and improved considerably the financial stability of the Poughkeepsie City School District.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. In addition to that, I put some finance facts for the community to be aware of where we stand with our state aid ratios. So I did a little comparison between 24-25 and what we are expecting for 25-26. As you can see, our transportation rate, it states remains the same. We're going to be at 90% reimbursement in this year and next year. We can see a little difference, minor difference in the building aid ratio and the BOCES aid ratio. However, the district wants to see these things early, because then we do our due diligence and we look at our finances, so to make sure if our aid goes down, we make sure like those allocations are put on our budget and we compensate for that. So we are diligently looking this year our finances very, very early for next year's budget. And the last thing is our future planning. What are our future plan at Poughkeepsie School District? Long-term financial planning and strategic initiatives for our district. One of the initiatives that we are initiating this summer under the leadership of our new superintendent, Mr. Mott, it's long-range financial planning. So the district is set to introduce a comprehensive long-range financial planning process this summer. This initiative aims to strengthen the district's budgeting framework by offering a strategic outlook that guides future financial decision and ensures fiscal accountability, which means we're working right now with Mr. Mott in starting during the summer and creating between 3 and 5 year financial planning. So we don't look with just and right now how we stand, but we look at the future years and how we stand in the future years. We continue to monitor market condition. Why is that important? Continuous monitoring of market interest rates and economic trends is critical in a school districts or any financial settings. Staying informed enables the district to time service procurement effectively and secure optimal pricing to maximize our finances efficiently. This means that we have to look at the trends, like we look at how the condition are. For example, we want to go and purchase paper, or we want to purchase electricity, or we want to purchase gas and oil. We have to look at the market trends and see when is the best time of the year to purchase, so we get possible the best pricing. And we consistently looking at these trends and market trends right now in our district. Ongoing financial assessment, and we're going to continue to evaluate the district financial health and debt application. That's critical. We're going to monitor. We're going to monitor financial. We're going to monitor to make sure that financial sustainability is in an alignment with the board and strategic objectives of the Poughkeepsie School District, which means allowing for timely adjustments to financial strategies if needed. This is an example of the federal funding. We have to monitor our finances on the daily basis. I would say on the daily basis, because with uncertainty in the federal grants right now, we have to be diligent, we have to be proactive, and we have to look forward. By implementing proactive financial planning, continuously monitoring these economic conditions, and seeking opportunities for improvement, we always have to seek opportunities for improvement. The Poughkeepsie City School District can optimize costs and become more efficient, so we can create a better environment and more effective environment for our students, for our employees, and also for our community. Thank you. Next.
So board members, one of the things I do need to, before we go to the next slide, I need to applaud the efforts of Ms. Lakai and Mr. Mott, particularly with this long-term financial planning and strategic initiative work that they've been engaging in conversation about. As everyone knows, that I'm transitioning to Rochester, and there's been many times I've been out of the district, sort of getting my family ready to sort of transition 100% to Rochester by July 1st. And what they have done in my absence with these conversations, most certainly needs to be applauded in public, because these are the type of conversations that a very good business official as well as a good superintendent need to have in order to make sure that the organization has the fuel to be able to fund everything that is important for our children. So I do want to publicly applaud the two of you for having these conversations, because in most places, as the superintendent is transitioning out, people aren't necessarily focused on the future. But the two of you, along with the other members of the team, but more specifically to the future financial plan, and the two of you have engaged in conversations about how can we keep our organization moving in the positive direction, and understanding that having clear access to financial resources to be able to support what we know is important for our children as well as our community is extremely essential. So I want to thank the two of you and wanted to point out publicly the work that the two of you have engaged in and give you your kudos here in public.
Thank you, Dr. Russell.
Are there any questions, board members, related to Ms. Lakai's presentation?
Just to echo what you said, because sometimes board members, our board doesn't always get our flowers, so I'm going to throw a flower at us. That the board has also requested that we do future forecasting, because it's important that we get ahead of the game, because the financial outlooks at any point, our kids are going to suffer more than other school districts. And if we're not ahead of the game, we're not going to be surprised by it. So just throwing some flowers at us, because we have been asking that, we've been requesting that, anticipating all the things. And I do appreciate the efforts that you have been focused on. Board colleagues, any comments?
Yes, sorry, asthma's flaring. Thank you, as always, Ms. Lakai, for your presentation. Transportation. So excited that the RFP is in effect, and we're planning ahead with the training and the tablets, et cetera. But again, a theme since the fall from me as an individual board member. First, I just want to, and this is, I'm not correcting you, Dr. Rosser, I'm just making sure the community understands, because when you were speaking about this, To start, you said any student will get the transportation. It's not any student, it's elementary. Which again, I'm still advocating and asking, when does this go beyond? Because we have middle school parents who live way on the other side, on the north side of town, who are also fearful to have their children walk from where I grew up on Henderson Street, over near Pulaski, to the middle or high school, but there's no transportation and we don't have enough busing with the city busing. We just don't. It was a conversation we were talking about with me at the table years ago. So what about those students? Are we a transportation district or are we not? We're not. We're going to do, and in the fall, when I asked the question about this being two entities, reconfig and transportation, because it seemed two different entities to me, I was told yes, and then it was packaged as one thing. I am still concerned. Ms. Stewart, our board liaison, has made these statements repeatedly as the student liaison about the lack of transportation for her secondary peers. So I'm just reiterating it again. And I also want to, just reiterate, because I'd asked about bus monitors a few meetings ago, and it was, they will be there based on the mandates of an IEP. I am still advocating that it's beyond that. We cannot expect a bus driver with 40 children on a bus. What if? For safety purposes, I'm advocating for a monitor on every single bus, whether they're students with exceptionalities or not. A child gets sick, there's an accident, an altercation breaks out on the bus, which could happen. What are we expecting the bus driver to do while they're driving the bus up the arterial? So I know I've said it, and it was said the IEP students will get, but I'm still not comfortable with that response for the safety of all the children that will be transported to these respective schools. Also, I do applaud the long-range financial planning. I think that's critical, right? It's what we do in the personal space, right? I will make my appointment in Albany to talk about my TRS and my TNA this summer to start planning for the retirement date and making sure everything's in line. So why wouldn't we do that for the sake of children? But I just want to be mindful that as we are financially planning for the future, that we are about boots on the ground support for our children. Parents don't send their kids to central office. They send them to schools. And we need to have as much support in the buildings as possible. Finally, this may be tedious to some, but it's just sitting with me again tonight. In our mission statement, we are champions of, or we are champions for. I'm sorry, it still gets me, the preposition thing, because of is possession and for is about purpose. Of means the what, while for means the why. So I think we need to pick a direction and pick a preposition and make sure it's consistent across the mission statement. And for some, it may be tedious, but for me, it's important. Thank you again, Ms. Lakai, for your presentation.
Thank you so much for your.
If I can just comment, because there's something that was put out there that I just want to make sure that our community has clarity on. So as we presented the transportation for our elementary school students, we did note several different times as we were going through this journey around providing transportation that we would be looking at a resolution for our middle school students. From my understanding, through the leadership of Ms. Lakai and Mr. Mott, as a part of their long-range financial planning, that is still being considered. So I want to just put that out there for our community to understand that we have not taken a blind eye or a blind ear or a not listening ear to what our community has articulated. The community shared with me back in 2019 that they wanted transportation for students, just not elementary school students, but sustainable, adequate transportation for middle and high school students as well. we first needed to address the largest area of concern, which is our elementary schools. Our middle school students and our high school students do have access to transportation, be it not necessarily sufficient in all cases, but they do have access to transportation, where our elementary school students did not have access to transportation at the scale in which we will be providing it for next year. So I do want to sort of share that, not as a contradiction or a argument back to Trustee Royce, but I wanted to fill in to let our families know that under the leadership of Mr. Mott and Ms. Lakai, that work is still going to continue for next year. Now that we will have resolved the elementary level, the next step in resolving the transportation issues across the district will most certainly be looking at middle and potentially high.
And thank you for that. Those need to be part of the slides then. If that is the intent, and I've repeatedly brought it up, again, I'm not coming just with Kellyanne Royce's feelings. I'm a vessel of the community and I'm bringing things to this space, not just because of what my beliefs may be or my questions, but that of the community. So thank you, Dr. Osser, for putting that out there. And I look forward to hearing about the future plans so we can take care of all of our children in the district.
Absolutely, Ms. Royce. Thank you.
I don't know if you were kidding, but the offer is still there that I will act as a student on the pre-bus runs, the trials. I will volunteer to be that unruly 9-year-old, as you test the routes. Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify a couple of points in my other hat when I work in the community. So I will just say, and this is just real data because I've been on the ground. I have worked with students and young adults that are diagnosed with mental illness. And it's not every kid that gets a monitor on bus. This is an issue. I just want to make sure because we're having good participation in our audience, I just don't want it to be perceived as if Poughkeepsie City School District is somehow missing out on something. This is an issue across all districts. In fact, I have, in my role with many families, have advocated for monitors for kids, because when you have children that their behaviors or they get triggered while they're on the bus, having a monitor really helps support that child. So not every district does that, but it'd be great if we do that. And so far from my own experience as a parent, having had transparently shared many times before, 2 children that had self-contained classes did have monitors on their bus in Poughkeepsie City School District. So we got something. The other thing I want to say in terms of the busing is that I am looking forward and agree with the secondary busing, but let's get through this first hurdle. This is huge. One of the first things, and I don't know, I get worried to say that I'm a transplant because life be lifing. I come from the Bronx, and while my way to Beacon, and then while my way to Poughkeepsie City School District, which by the way, I've been in Poughkeepsie 6 years now. 16 in Dutchess County. And my arrival to Poughkeepsie, the first things I heard from many, again, on the ground, because I will never speak on who I know, because the people I serve is their personal business. It's not my business to share. But the feedback I was getting was, we need busing. We need busing. School district got the busing. So let's get through this first hurdle, and I look forward to exploring the options of having our secondary students, because I do agree they are also navigating on foot through our community, through very difficult, challenging spaces in our community.
So maybe if I may, Board President, can that be something we can expect in one of the first meetings to hear what the ongoing plan is? Again, as I reiterated, I know it's not happening now, but I am not getting the updated information, we as a governance team. So let's just keep the community abreast of what that's looking like as we move forward. And as Board President said, the mandates are the mandates and we provide those mandates. But I just want to be mindful of the safety of children. It may not be a mandate, but if we can certainly maneuver that in a district of 5 elementary schools, then we should be looking into it. It's
Yeah.
only going to benefit our children and the district in the long run.
And in terms of process, just again, because I'm a big proponent of educating, because I came from a failed school system. Let's educate the people. And the more you know, the more you informed. So in terms of process, July 1 will hit again. It's a new school year. And the board will meet in a retreat. And we identify board goals. We will be welcoming our newly elected board trustee, Ms. Chiarenza, which I need to still get how you want your name to be stated. But you will be welcome on this team, and we will be in a retreat, and we will meet with our superintendent, and we will get on what cabinet goals are. And in addition to that, which is why I'm very committed to our board committees, is that board committees, which will start again in the fall, is another layer to be able to have access to the people that are doing the work in the ground. And so there are different ways that we can approach this, but we got to be tapped in order to know what's happening. Anything else? Any other comments, questions? Okay, so let's move on. If we can please go through consent agenda items. I know that there were, I believe, questions or concerns on some. You have your list? You want me to pull this on your thing? Oh, okay, okay. Let's just do a roll call, right? Yeah, yeah. No, hold on, I need it. I'll give it back to you, I promise. Board Clerk, which consent agenda item is for administration? Is that 10.3? 10.7, okay. No, that's not the one. Personnel, 10.3, okay, good. Mm-hmm.
Madam Board Clerk, in addition to 10.3, we also need to pull 10.7 to move that one separately.
Yep.
So are we doing 10.3, the whole
I'm
agenda?
gonna pull one out.
Section something?
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry. Just consent agenda items, yeah. And then I'm
Board-
also,
Board
Also-
President, may I make a comment?
yes.
It's, I just noticed something.
Okay.
I'm not bringing this up for conversation. It's just a noticing. When when I was looking at the agenda items on Sunday briefly
Mhm,
to prepare,
mhm.
I noticed there were transfers, and now I don't see those transfers listed.
Dr. Osser?
There were transfers of some teachers that I made note of. Now I'm looking back through here, I don't see I don't see the transfers.
Mr. Mott, Mr. Hanratty.
There are no transfers. What transfer are you referencing? PMS, PHS?
Yes,
Yeah.
they were on the board docs,
Those,
and now
those-
they're not.
they're no longer, those transfers are no longer
They've been
in effect.
removed.
They've
Okay,
been removed.
okay. Okay, yeah, I don't need reasons of why. But as an educator, if assignment letters went out and then things were pulled, new assignment letters should go
And
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
And we could talk about that. We could talk.
we can talk that as an
specifics and
executive
reasons.
session,
Okay,
just
thank you.
because it is an executive session content.
Okay, great. Thank you. Board President, had I noticed it upstairs, I would have brought it up.
No
I'm
worries,
just gonna-
it's
thank-
fine. So am I gauging that we're ready to move?
Are we pulling things right now or just?
That's what I'm moving on with, yep. Can I have a motion to pull from the personnel reports, administrative personnel reports, 10.3 specific to B3, and that's for roll call.
10.3 B3?
10.3 B3, yeah. And then I'd like to pull 10.7. And then are we pulling 10.8 or just moving on?
We're gonna pull
To that.
10.8 and 10.9.
Right, okay. Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I thought. They're in action, right? Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we don't have to pull those. Okay. So we're pulling 10.3 B3 and 10.7. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Are those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, can I have a motion to approve consent agenda items 7.1, 8.1, 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, removing 10.3 B3, 10.4, 10.5, 10.6. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, can we have a roll call? Can I bring this back onto the agenda? 10.3 B3, a roll call.
Dr. Reeser.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
What happened? Yeah, B3. Okay, because we're doing a roll call and you're abstaining. So we have to do
Got
a
it,
roll
got
call.
it.
Yeah,
Thank you. Okay, sorry. My apologies.
yep, no worries.
Okay, Dr. Reeser,
Yes.
Ms. Boyce Hirón,
Abstaining.
Judge O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Creeding,
Yes.
and Ms. Boyce, sorry, Ms. Martinez Santiago.
Yes, just for the future, when we do abstain, we do have to give a reason as to why we're abstaining.
You want me to, Board President?
Obviously, I'll let you make judgment on that. If it's something that's executive content.
Yeah, it's definitely executive content, but just in my judgment and integrity to knowledge, I'm abstaining from the vote.
Okay, a point of order. We actually have to table this because we have a walk-on.
So we're gonna
Table.
table 10.3, section B.
So we have to have a motion to pull back on the floor. Personnel report 10.3B3. Can I have a motion to pull it back on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed? And we're gonna now do a motion to table 10.3B3. If you need explanation, I'm happy to give the explanation. Or Dr. Rosser can give
Yeah.
the explanation.
We're temporarily tabling 10.3B because this particular assignment of this individual, there is a walk-on agenda item that will come later in the meeting. And we first must
Take care of that.
seek approval of the walk-on item through the board before we can actually appoint this individual. So we will be bringing this back at this meeting, but after we do the walk-on item that pertains to the same individual.
Kate, we may need a point of clarification with abstaining.
Sure. So the general guidance on abstentions from the commissioner is that board members should abstain if they have an actual or apparent conflict of interest in being able to vote. An apparent conflict of interest would be essentially a situation where there's an appearance of impropriety, even in the absence of a formal conflict. And the typical practice is that the board member should state the reason for that conflict and the reason for the abstention on the record as well, so the record is clear.
Can I also have a point of clarification not related to this specific item? I want to make that very, very clear. But just to educate us all, in the event that any board member voted no to any personnel item in public, would that leave us at risk to reveal some sort of conflict with the appointment of that staff member?
If I understand your question correctly, Board Member Martinez Santiago, I believe what you're asking is whether or not merely voting no for a board member could indicate confidential personnel information that the board is not at liberty to disclose. And the answer is no. Any board member can vote their conscience. Any board member can vote yes or no according to their conscience,
So
providing.
a staff member can't accuse us of having kind of any problem with any specific person, again, speaking very broadly, if we ever at any point voted no.
I would say there is no legal prohibition on any
Okay.
member voting no on a personnel appointment that they do not personally support. What would be prohibited and could be, against my recommendation and against legal recommendation would be for a board member to provide discussion in connection with their vote that reveals confidential or executive session protected information or information that's confidential to a staff member. That would be improper. However, merely voting no does not disclose confidential information, and it's every board member's duty to vote their conscience and to vote something up or down according to their conscience. Yeah. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful.
Okay, so we are moving to 10.7. Before we do a vote, I'd like to read the resolution. 10.7 is an administrative appointment resolution 25-439. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education of Poughkeepsie City School District hereby appoints Ms. Margarita Lakai as the district's assistant superintendent for business effective July 1, 2025, and terminating June 30th, 2028, and an annualized salary of, Dr. Rosser, can you please specify the amount of the salary?
Yeah, based upon the posting that was put up earlier this academic year, we posted the position indicating that the salary for the duties and responsibilities of this position would be at $200,000. So therefore, it is my recommendation that we move forward with Ms. Lakai's salary for the period of 25 through 2026 be at the rate of $200,000 based upon our posting.
And I would just say the resolution says July 1st, 2025, and terminating June 30th, 2028, just as a point of order.
Correct.
Okay. To be paid out.
And board president, if I could just interject for 1 second as well.
Yes.
Just a clarification for the benefit of transparency to the community and education to the community. Poughkeepsie City School District is a small city school district by classification under New York State law. And that's an important distinction because small city school districts are not entitled to confer tenure on their assistant superintendents. So unlike in central and union-free districts where assistant superintendents are eligible for tenure, in small city school districts, that's not the case. And as a result, the law allows us to enter into contracts up to 3 years with an assistant superintendent to identify the terms and conditions of their employment. So the assistant superintendent for business falls in that category, and that is why the board is proceeding with a contract in this instance versus simply having Ms. Lakai join a bargaining unit or obtain an appointment on probation.
And this contract is done with the board, but at the recommendation of the superintendent. Is that correct?
That's correct. So the superintendent is responsible by law for supervising and directing the assistant superintendent, but the Board of Education is responsible for contracting with the assistant superintendent, and that contract is directly with the board. That's correct.
Continuing on, to be paid out of the district's general fund. Be it resolved that the board president is hereby authorized to sign the agreement on the board's behalf. Of course, we will now request a vote. Can I please have a motion, or do we want to do a roll call?
Well, I think we probably need to move it. So, yeah, so.
Okay, can I have
yeah,
a motion to move 10.7 onto the table?
Yeah, so.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now we're moving for the approval of 10.7. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Lakai.
Thank you, board members, Dr. Rosser, community members. Thank you for giving me again the opportunity to serve our students, our community. I am humbled and honored, and I'm going to work very, very hard to make sure I do always what's best for our students and our community. Thank you again.
And I know you will. Dr. Rosser, can you please lead us out with 10.8 and 10.9?
Point of order real quick. Ms. Torres, am I doing it later or am I doing it right now? The memorial.
Yeah, you could do it later.
Okay, because it's in our action as well.
Okay.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We will move 10.8 and 10.9 later into our action items.
19.4, 19.4. No.
Okay, can I have, hold on, why am I feeling like? We have continuing consent agenda items, right? Okay. Because no one requested anything to be pulled, I'm just going to go through each one very quickly, approving each in one vote, okay? Okay, can I have a motion to approve consent agenda items 11.1 through 11.6, 12.1 through 13.5, 16.1 through 16.3, 17.1, 17.1. Can I have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All motions carry. Okay, we're moving on to action items. Any action items of concern? Do we want to go through them individually?
I do want to table, and what I would suggest is that we utilize, and I'm speaking to, and my apologies, I had it in front of me, now I lost it. Policy on non-represented.
18.1.
Oh, yes, okay.
18 what?
Point one.
18.1.
Yeah, we need to
So what I
table
want to
that,
do
right?
is, well, I don't want to necessarily table it. I just want to have it for its first reading, understanding that myself and council are going to take another review around language pertaining to what is currently known as Category 4, which will be known as Category 3. There's just some language that the council and I have recently engaged in, or conversations that we engaged in around the language. We just want to make sure that before the board moves to accept and approve this policy change, that she and I have the conversation. We can finalize our conversation around a particular piece of this policy. So I don't want to table, I just want to keep it on there, but not move it forward for approval this evening.
Okay, so let's just do 18.1. I'd like to request a motion to amend the resolution to remove second reading from the resolution and to keep it as first reading. Can I have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? A motion carries as a first reading. And then as we move on, 18.2 to 18.5, any questions on those action items? There being none, can I have a motion to approve action items 8.2, 18.2, 18.3, 18.4, and 18.5?
Second.
All those in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, moving on. Action items 18.6, 18.7, 18.8, 18.9, 18.10, 18.11, 18.12, 18.13, 18.14. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motions carry. So 18.5 is related to dues that we have to pay for our the New York State Association of Small City School Districts. I would just like to say that as we decide to move forward, I have been the representative of our school districts in discussions and meetings, and I will tell you that there's just been too many meetings that I've been a part of this year. Probably like 10 different committees and groups. It's a lot for me and I can't keep doing this. And I think we need to move forward with approving this action item, but I have concerns that we're not leveraging the opportunities involved with this group. So just to say, for the school year 25-26, that we really need to seriously consider our participation and really increase it, because ultimately it'll benefit us. Okay, can I have a motion to approve 18.15?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're trying to pay that so we don't pay the extra amount that we would have to pay after July 1. Okay, we're moving on to action item 18.16. I just want to make a point of, yes.
Board President, I would like to table that because I have some questions that I was hoping to ask in our second exec session.
I don't know if the contract is a public matter. In fact, that was the comment that I wanted to say, is that I just want to clarify that the contract has been made public and it's transparent, in the spirit of being transparent, wanting to make sure that the public knows that that contract has been made public. And I think that in our legal counsel, if you can please jump in, it's my understanding that the superintendent contract can be discussed on the floor as long as we're not discussing we're not evaluating the superintendent in public. Can you please clarify for us?
Certainly. So the superintendent's contract certainly is a public document, as you've noted. I would say any questions about the fiscal components of the contract, the structure of the contract, the procedures set forth in the contract could certainly be discussed on the floor. With respect to the negotiation of certain items in the contract, such as disciplinary procedures and other terms, as well as the performance or qualifications of the individual holding that title, those would be topics that, to your point, Board President, would be more suited to executive session. They are not required, I should clarify, to be discussed in exec session, but best practice is to do so. And this board has a history of typically discussing employee specifics about employees and their personal performance or credentials in exec session.
And
So
would
I
it
think
be appropriate to say that the board has already engaged in questions and negotiations about this contract already in executive session, correct?
That's correct. And of course, we can't reveal to the public the content of those discussions because executive sessions are confidential. But I think that's perfectly fair to clarify, Board President, that there have been extensive conversations in executive session about the appointment and the contract herein.
So since I asked to table it, Kate, Board President, if I may, there was an email back and forth amongst us as a governance team. We gave some feedback. I provided feedback, but there wasn't feedback to my feedback. So as I looked through the document, I am uncomfortable with re-asking those questions on the board floor because they do connect to what our legal counsel said we should not discuss on the floor. However, if my request will not be granted to table it, then we can move forward with a vote.
The other option I should clarify is that any board member at any time can make a motion for a brief executive session to discuss a topic that pertains to a pending vote. So board member Royce Yaron, that is another option that's available to you as a board member. I know the board is reluctant to delay these meetings anymore, as that's been a criticism that the community has had. However, if you feel that there is a need for an executive session to flesh out these questions that you have, and they are of a personal nature and not appropriate for the floor, you can certainly always call for an executive session and move that to an executive session.
Point of clarity, council, with that, with the board member requesting an executive session, would that need to go through any type of formal vote?
It
Or,
would have to be a motion that's seconded and then supported by a majority of the board. That's correct.
thank you for the clarity.
And I'm happy to take any other points of order or procedural questions. I'm not the expert in Robert's Rules of Order, but I have sufficient facility to answer any questions regarding points of order as well that the board may have at this point. But to Dr. Rosser's point, any board member can make a motion to enter into an executive session, but a board member alone cannot enter into an executive session. Obviously, that would have to be seconded and supported by a quorum of the board.
And I thought we were going to be going back into exec session because we still had items for exec session, but I'm perfectly fine with moving forward with the vote.
I'm just struggling because we did have executive session to discuss some of these questions. And I want to also give you the opportunity to continue to ask your questions. But in reviewing the email, we did speak extensively on these pieces. And if board colleagues would like to continue to have these conversations, we certainly can. But in my view of looking at the email and also the legal counsel's response to each question, just wanting to offer you the opportunity to still engage in these questions.
Madam President, it was clear when we were upstairs that we wanted to get on the floor in a timely manner. We discussed the things of which were most prevalent. I do have questions. I am fine in moving forward. And I will publicly say, as I stated to the governance team, I did not review documents in the manner of which I normally do in preparation because of the death of a staff member, of which I spoke at her funeral this morning in Long Island. So I am fine with not going into exec session and we can move forward with the vote.
We're happy to entertain your questions, but just to be very clear, because there have been recent rumblings in the community that we don't offer board members sufficient time. So as a point of order, just want to make sure that it's clear that there was response to your email. At our previous executive session, we had an extensive conversation about this. And I am now asking board colleagues if we can add this as a topic, remove it from the agenda and move it into our executive session so we can continue engaging in these questions.
And as
Madam
point of order, board president, I'm sorry to cut you off, board member Royce Aron. I just want to clarify also that that does not prohibit the board from voting on the item tonight. You can move it to the end of the agenda, conduct an exec session, exit the executive session, re-enter public session and vote on the item before you disperse tonight.
I am fine with moving forward with the vote on 18.16.
I think that you've requested to bring it into executive session. I'm just doing performative practice and asking the board to take it off our agenda. We did ask which agenda items we will pull, but now I'm asking on the floor, can we pull this and bring it into executive session? Can I please have a motion?
Point of clarification. We are going into executive session no
Absolutely.
matter what.
Absolutely.
So
So as a point of order, Can we pull 18.6 for discussion? I'm sorry? 18.16. My brain got crossed there. 18.6. And we will 18.16. Lord, okay, 18.16.
Yes.
And we can table that and bring it back on when we return back from executive session. Can I have a motion? Okay, there being none, we will proceed to vote to move forward with this resolution. Can I have a motion? Do we want to do a roll call or? Okay, can I have a motion to approve action item 18.16?
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed?
To vote on it or the actual vote?
To vote on it. So
No.
we're actually voting for 18.16.
No.
Okay. If we can note, trustee Royce Hedon's vote is no for 18.16. Okay, we're now moving into items that have been walked on. And I just would like to say that it's been a long time since we walk things on to the agenda. It used to actually be a regular practice of ours previous years. But we are not doing that. We haven't done it in a while. So for agenda item that's been brought onto the floor, 19.1, can I have a motion to approve? I have to motion to get it on the agenda, correct? And then we vote for it. Okay. Can I have a motion to bring onto the agenda action item, I'm sorry, motion to walk on 19.1?
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Okay, can I have a motion to approve action, 19.1?
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Can I have a motion to bring on 19.2?
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Can I now have a vote to approve 19.2?
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a vote to bring on 19.3 into the agenda?
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Can we vote on 19.3?
The people were asking what it is.
You, okay, I mean. So typically we wouldn't explain it. I've been doing it just because, I think it's good to educate the public on what we're doing. 19.1, we cannot discuss because it's a personnel item. Right? Oh, 19.2 is, okay. And 19.1 is, what was 19.1?
It's to bring them on. Walk them on.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did that wrong. That was my bad. Okay. So 19.2 is a personnel item.
18.4 is a personnel item.
19.4 is also a personnel item. 19.3 is related to half days. So the middle school has not received half days like elementary schools, and then the high school is out because of regions. And in spirit of equity, and allowing our teachers to have the half days to close down their classrooms, We're doing a MOU for now, their MOA. And then there will be more to come. But for this process, we are approving a memorandum of understanding
And if
for
I
this
can-
year, correct?
If I can just add to it, you know, the reasoning behind this has a lot to do with our capital project
Hear you
and
well.
making sure that our.
Dr. Rosser, hold on. Can Dr. Rosser's volume go up? Because can we keep it up too?
Yeah, the reasoning behind this, thank you very much. The reasoning behind this is to make sure that our middle school teachers do have an opportunity to package up their personal effects, given the fact that we have major capital improvement project work happening at the middle school. And we do note that our teachers will need additional time or time to be able to do so. So this was negotiated between Mr. Mott, Pipsta, and myself to make sure that our middle school teachers for this year will have time, given the fact that we have our capital project happening at the middle school this summer, that we're able to provide them with enough time to be able to pack up their personal belongings in preparation of many of the instructional spaces being renovated under our capital project.
Board Clerk, did we officially approve 19.3? Okay. Okay, so now we're going to 19.4. Can I have a motion? Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And 19.4 is a personnel matter as well that we can't discuss publicly. Right? Okay. So now we're going back to consent agenda items to our two memoriams. No?
10.3.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So now we're going back to 10.3. B3, can we bring it back onto the agenda?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, can we have a roll call for 10.3? B3.
Dr. Reeser,
Yes.
Ms. Boyce Hedon,
That's this one. This is the 10.3 B3. Yeah, that was that. We had requested to pull it. No.
Judge O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Creedon, Ms. Martinez Santiago.
Yes. Motion carries. Can we go to the memoriams?
Yes, definitely. Becky, can you pull it up on the screen for us? So community, as we have done in the past, we want to make sure that we are paying our respect and our gratitude to those who have served children in the Poughkeepsie City School District. Unfortunately, we do receive information about how these champions who used to support as employees our children have now transitioned. We have two memoriams that I will be reading today, and I will be asking at the conclusion of both readings, if we can take a moment of silence to honor them, their work, and what they meant for so many children here in the Poughkeepsie City School District. So the first individual that we will be recognizing this evening is Mr. Neil Brine. He served the Poughkeepsie City School District as an elementary teacher prior to his untimely death on May 29th, 2025. The Poughkeepsie City School District Board of Directors, Board of Education, administration, and staff extend their sincere condolences to Mr. Brine's family and friends and join them in honoring his memory. Our second person, Miss Adele T. Morello, she served the Poughkeepsie City School District also as an elementary school teacher at Morse and Smith Elementary School prior to her death on June 2nd, 2025. Poughkeepsie City School District Board of Education, Administration, and staff extend their sincere condolences to Miss Morello's family and friends and join them in honoring her memory. If we can just take a moment of silence.
Just like.
Yes,
Vice
I'd
President
like to
Leahy.
say that I remember Adele. She taught 3 of my children.
Oh, wow.
And thank you.
That's so sweet. Can I just say that that is really truly, teachers will always be remembered, no matter how old someone becomes.
Yeah.
You will always remember that special adult that has made impact. And I just want to appreciate you, Bob, right now, just making that so raw, and remembering Adele's memory.
So with that being said, can we just take a moment of silence to recognize their contribution, send prayers to their families, and uplift them spiritually? Thank you very much.
So what follows are some board discussions. I wanted to bring back up the ad hoc committee. We did pass a resolution to open up the ad hoc committee. And just want to, I think every meeting moving forward until that has formed, I want to bring it to discussion. I'm not sure if anyone yet has thought of having any appetite to take a lead on this ad hoc committee. But also reminding you all that we do have a short amount of time. If we wait until after July 1, which realistically probably won't take us till mid-September, potentially October, we have to be ready for a report to the board by February in order to change the Clinton Elementary School name. So it doesn't give us a lot of time to do a really robust community involvement. And so just wanting to know if anyone had thoughts about that. Okay, could we potentially decide on if the board members can give suggestions for the 5 people that you think could be named for this committee? That would be truly helpful. Mr. Mott, if you could also help support in that. In fact, if you could take a lead on that, just identifying that we know that there will be 1 board member for sure. But we will need staff from school, and then potentially maybe 2 staff and 2 community members. If you can identify those, and then at our next meeting, we can discuss it further. That sound good? Board members, any opposition to that? Just saying, Dr. Risa, you could be as a community member. Okay, the next thing I also wanted to bring to discussion is our NISBA presentations. Wanting to get a sense, Trustee Royce Hidong, if you want to do that jointly, if you jointly meaning the same day, do we want to pull it apart so that everyone can get, full briefing on what it is that we learned? What are your thoughts?
I'm happy to do it jointly. We attended some similar workshops together,
That's
and then we
true.
could just piece apart the ones that we were not in the room together for, to show how we were very strategic in selecting the workshops we attended.
Do you have a day that you would prefer?
Um, I guess this
Maybe we
goes
have to
in-
wait till our board meetings are scheduled, right?
Yeah.
We can't hear you.
Our next meeting is July 2nd,
Which is the reorg meeting
which
and
is the
it's
real.
jam-packed.
And it's jam-packed because it's also the code of conduct.
So potentially maybe, so why don't we
The first
table
week.
this discussion till we have our board meeting dates and then decide from there? Does that sound like a plan?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we want to save our comment section? How about, I want to just say, first of all, I just would like to take a moment to recognize I think we should do comments and then go into executive session, and then we can close out from there, since there is no further business to cover. But I want to take the time out to really acknowledge our square this evening, as I'm lovingly saying. You both happen to have ours as your last names. So Dr. Reeser, I cannot express enough the sacrifices. I mean, this is truly a labor of love to serve on the board. Eleanor, you'll see. Not just these meetings, the community reactions sometimes, not knowing the intricacies of the whole thing. It's a lot, and you have a whole family, you have a whole job. And I really respected, oh my gosh, your policy committee is going to really struggle. Policies have been tremendous work. You have allowed us to move forward in that work. I remember when I first sat on this board, the amount of work that was involved with updating our policies. It was almost like you can't even process it, because it was like decades that our policies weren't looked at. And you took a lead on that work, and also very graciously, which is incredible. It's commendable. I just want to thank you for all of your labor of love. We may not have always agreed, but one of the things I really appreciate about you is that we found our way to a middle ground where we could still engage and connect. And I really, really, truly appreciate that, Dr. Reeser. So thank you for your time on this board.
Thank you.
And Dr. Rosser, we talked about it today with the finances. I don't want it to be unsaid that you have stabilized this district in a way that needed to be stabilized. We were in very difficult times when you came on. In fact, when I first met you, I was a parent. I was just engaging as a regular parent. Superintendent's going to make a presentation on the strategic plan, right? I walk into this room. It was in Dr. Simpson's office. It was like a conference room. I don't know if you remember. It was a conference room. And I go in. Dr. Deborah Long was a sitting board member at the time, and she was kind of like in the corner over there. Never forget her also. And Dr. Rosser starts his presentation. I kid you not. I was like, the state of affairs and the way he was communicating about where we were at, I was scared. I was like, wait, what did we just walk into? And I will tell you why I got triggered by that, because I grew up in the South Bronx during the 70s and 80s, and am a product of a failed school system in the Bronx. So what he was saying was like alarm bells. I was already like, whoa, what am I doing here? And somehow, some way, you presented this confidence that you were going to tackle this on, and you did. And I just want to thank you for your contributions to the school districts. You had fared us well. You have elevated this district at a level where we are now being noticed. You have bridged partnerships that were once shunned, or not encouraged. People now say, oh, we can now engage with Poughkeepsie City School District, and that says a lot to your leadership. We wish you well in Rochester, because these circles are so small, and you happen to know colleagues here in this school district. I hope that you stay connected, and I know for sure we'll know how well you're doing up in Rochester. So thank you for your time. Dr. Rosser?
Thank you very much. So I'm going to continue to sort of articulate my thanks for this entire community for all that we have collectively done together. The work that we've engaged in, most certainly using your terms, Board President, has been a labor of love. It's also been a labor of collaboration. And most importantly, it's been a labor of doing what's in the best interest of Poughkeepsie City School District students. And while we still have a long way to go as a school district, as we tackle the challenges that are before us, making sure that we are working collaboratively and strategically to increase our graduation rates, the proficiency of our students in ELA and math, as well as science. We have a lot that we can celebrate and be proud of. I'm not one that celebrates too long, particularly when there's more work to be done, but it's important to acknowledge that our work has impacted positively the lives of children. And there's more work to be done, but I do want to take a moment to acknowledge that so many more children have been impacted positively through our collaborative work that we've engaged in for the past 6 years. Thank you, Dr. Reeser, for your continued leadership. You were one of the board members that came on board when I came on board. So you and I have been sort of on this journey together for quite some time. And I want to thank you for your dedication, your commitment. If I'm not mistaken, out of all of the board meetings that we have had over the past 6 years, you've only missed 2. I was going to say 1. So I must have been absent the other one that you missed as well. So thank you very much for your service to our school district, and most importantly, to the children who will one day be citizens and leaders of this community as well as globally. I need to also thank all of our employees who are retiring for their dedication and the time that they've spent contributing to the positive youth development and academic growth of our children. I also need to thank my team. And when I say team, I really mean team, for your contribution and your hard work and effort. And I know, unfortunately, we have 2 team members that I will not have the fortunate opportunity to work long-term with, but I will share with you that through your selection to be a part of this team, I know that you will serve the Poughkeepsie City School District well. I want to welcome our new board member, and I hate, even though that you were part of the Parents Advisory Committee to the superintendent, that you and I will not be able to serve together as a part of the governance team, but I will live, through vicariously through Mr. Mott and all the support and things that everyone on the governance team will be able to do together. I want to welcome not only our new board member, but our new staff members who will start either July 1st or in September for their contributions. I want to welcome our new parents to the Poughkeepsie City School District. And more importantly, I want to welcome our new students to the Poughkeepsie City School District in September. My prayer is that I'm leaving this district in a much better place than when I received it. There's been a lot of sacrifice. There's been a lot of decisions that needed to be made, some good, some bad. But my prayer is that the Poughkeepsie City School District is in a better place than it was 6 years ago. I am hopeful and extremely confident that with the leadership of Mr. Mott and his executive cabinet, that the continued good work will happen, that the collaboration that led us to where we're at today will most certainly continue to take place, that the labor of love for children will continue to take place, and the labor of doing what's in the best interest of Poughkeepsie City School District students will continue to take place. I leave the Poughkeepsie City School District with a heavy heart, but also with a lot of enthusiasm with what is yet to come, with the community working side by side with the school district, with parents working side by side with the school district, and the school district working internally, collaboratively together. Thank you very much. And I look forward to reading about you in publications that will come out through the school district, looking at the new videos that will be a part of Mr. Mott's leadership that he's already put the foundation of creating to communicate with our community in different ways. And really, when I'm in the area, being able to visit, to see some things that we were able to start that unfortunately with my transition, I will not be able to see through, such as the innovation labs, such as the cafeteria work that we're doing, such as the transportation for our elementary school students, such as everything that's been a part of what Mr. Mott and I call the big board, things that are still left undone, but must be tackled in order for us to change and to impact the life trajectory of every Poughkeepsie City School District students. So thank you all, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve as superintendent of the Poughkeepsie City School District. This is one of those cherishable moments that I will never forget. And I thank the community for believing in me. And more importantly, I thank the community with rallying together to have a strong community impact on the lives of our children. Thank you very much.
Admit it, Rosser, you're gonna miss us. Just let the time pass and you'll be like, oh, Poughkeepsie. I'd like to take this opportunity now just to present you with a celebratory gesture. To you and Dr. Reeser, it's Dr. R. Squares. You also earlier, Dr. Rosser and Dr. Reeser received a momentum of gratitude from us, and that will continue on. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Can we see the tree? You'd like to look at it. Is it chocolate? I was gonna say, because there's anything I've learned about Dr. Rosser is he loves his sweets.
Oh, yeah.
He loves his chocolate. Let me see it.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, so we are going to enjoy. You all should definitely, actually, why don't we let our guests that are here, our attendees, please, have a slice of cake, and then we'll take the rest to executive session. While we make our comments. Dr. Reeser, your final board comments.
Final board comments. Well, where do I begin? Well, Dr. Rosser, thank you for those comments. It's been a privilege to fly on this journey with you. And also want to say a little more in my comments as well. I have a very brief history to tell, and you figure very importantly in that history. Board President, thank you for your comments and for the memento, and look forward to a slice of the R² cake. That is super cool. So I want to take the privilege of going on the Wayback Machine. It won't take that long here, but the time is 2019, last decade. The word COVID hadn't been invented yet. And I was approached by Dr. Felicia Watson, who thought that I could contribute something to the board and convinced me to run. I was inclined to accept her up to take her up on the invitation for a couple of reasons. First, I was committed to the belief that if you believe in democracy, you are concerned about school inequality, because school inequality in America today is a threat to our democratic way of life. And that's always been a profoundly deeply held belief. Secondly, I had a first grader in the district at the time, in my daughter, Sophie. So the combination of the two made it fairly easy to say yes. Overcame my shyness. I absolutely hate knocking on people's doors. But I had to do that for like a month in May of 2019, overcoming sort of mind over body to actually force myself to knock on that door to engage. So proud that I was able to do that, and privileged to be able to win a term. Nothing could prepare me for what would happen next. I joined a board that consisted of, first of all, the board, if I could just name their, identify them, it was me and four strong women in the best sense, Doreen Clifford, Michelle Martinez-Lefford, and also Deborah Long and Felicia Watson, two of whom spoke at the mic earlier. We could have had a quorum back in 2019 with me up here at the dais as well. Really quite remarkable leaders, people of extraordinary commitment to the district and extraordinary work ethic and willingness to do what was necessary. And so much was necessary. We didn't have a superintendent. We had no money as a district, but we didn't know that until November. We had a school. We thought we had money, but we didn't. We had a school in state receivership. We had no plan. The 5-year plan from the previous administration was no good to begin with. It wasn't followed and long since expired. And we were drawing on staff to serve as interims, which of course can work, but in the process of pulling interims from their existing duties, we left enormous operational and leadership vacancies throughout the district. And board members are not supposed to get involved in operations. That's the first thing we learned. But that happened by necessity. I recalled Doreen Clifford reporting that she had driven past Krieger, near where she lives, and saw that every light was on at 12 midnight. Could we do something about it? We were getting into the emergency meetings to deal with boilers that weren't working. Desperately trying to hold on to business officials. More on that in a second. It was chaotic. It was disorienting. We were all pioneers in that moment. It was exciting. Then came Dr. Rosser, and he arrives in August. He brought no experience as a superintendent, but a wealth of experience in the Georgia, Washington, D.C., and Buffalo school districts. He brought a deep knowledge of community schools. He brought character and integrity. And he began to right the ship immediately. But then came 3 crises, and he steered us through all 3. The first was a discovery, which was shocking to him and jaw-dropping for the rest of us, that not only did we have no balanced budget, we were facing a multi-million-dollar shortfall. Dr. Rosser alluded to that earlier tonight. I remember that meeting in November of 2019. Then came the world falling apart in March of 2020. School closures, uncertainty and trauma for our kids, for our families, for our community. Heroism, as teachers dropped everything and reinvented years of lesson plans to teach online. Remote meetings followed by masks and social distancing. So a budget crisis, right? A health crisis. And then even as we came out of those 2, a board crisis, as board relations fell apart, resulting in a resignation and a vacancy. Throughout it all, several things were key. I think Dr. Felicia Watson's forceful personality and love of the district, I think that was key. I think Board Clerk Becky Torres, I think her leadership was key, and she sustains her love for the district in the work that she does this very day. I could shout out School Counsel Kate Reed, as she was there as well to help us and shepherd us through those difficult times. She also remains part of the extended governance team. But key here is Dr. Rosser's unflappable personality, his systematic approach, his calm, cool demeanor. I was thinking in those times, the board, and pardon the Star Trek, nerdy Star Trek reference, but the board ran hot. And so the board was like Captain Kirk in the old Star Trek. Dr. Rosser frequently would play Leonard Nimoy's character, Dr. Spock. However, Dr. Rosser could switch and be Captain Kirk when he needed to. And a classic example of that was July, June of 2020, when I looked at the board packet and discovered that there was a resolution being presented for the board's consideration, proposed by Dr. Rosser, for us to spend $1 million that we weren't sure if we had, but we needed to spend that from our operating budget to get Chromebooks for the upcoming school year. And we needed to do it immediately because every other district in the country was doing the exact same thing. We needed to beat the market, right? So there's an example, that deliberative, calm, cool approach that is your great superpower, Dr. Rosser, but you acted quickly when the need arose. I've also described Dr. Rosser as the master gardener of the district, and he began planting seeds immediately. Lots of people in this district know many things. Nobody knows everything. Nobody knows where everything is planted the way that Dr. Rosser has for years now. He showed great insight, for instance, in bringing on Mr. Greg Mott to his leadership team, and we're now benefiting from Mr. Mott's leadership experience and abilities as our future superintendent. Then came this new board. It's been an honor and privilege to work with Board President Martina Santiago, Vice President Creed and Judge O'Neill, Ms. Kellyanne Royce. It's really an extraordinary group. Honored to work with every single one of you. I'll finish up here. How do I feel after this time with all of you, right? Doing this work together. I feel good for the most part. To answer your question, Dr. Rosser, you most certainly have left this district in a better place. Most certainly. I mean, I'll accept my share of the blame for what we haven't accomplished, right? I'll take that share. We're frustrated by the lack of rapid progress in key metrics of academic improvement. That's what we have been hoping for. We haven't seen it as a board. Everyone in this room feels that frustration, that impatience for that to happen. And I'll take my share of the blame for not being able to achieve the outcomes, for those seeds and saplings that we've been planting to bear the fruit that we expected by this point. But I take my small share of satisfaction and pride in contributing to what we have accomplished together under Dr. Rosser's leadership, and the leadership of this board. From going from a $79 million deficit to extremely solid finances with reserve accounts, an A bond rating, improved facilities from the capital project, no more leaky roofs or boilers going out 6 years later. 2 new elementary school names, a policy committee that is churning out product for the board's consideration, and I'm sure will continue to do so under the leadership of other staff and board members. 2 expanded busing and elementary school reconfiguration. This is a district on the move with a plan. Perhaps one sign of how much we've accomplished as a group is that my successor, Eleanor Chiarenza, is not arriving in a moment of chaos, right? Like, July of 2019. She's arriving in a moment of consistent leadership, where plans that have been laid for years now are achieving fruition and are being implemented in really exciting ways. She's arriving in a district that has a superintendent, no schools in receivership, stable finances, and forward direction, right? And there are plenty of challenges for you, Eleanor, for you all as a board, for us as a district. One is exciting challenge is going to be a new 5-year plan, right? And that conversation I know is the conversation about the conversation has already begun, right? And that'll be a challenge, but a good one to work and partner with the community to make a new 5-year plan. I wish Eleanor Chiarenza, I wish the entire district, this board, the very best. I wish Dr. Rosser the best in his new role in Rochester. And I want to thank you all for the honor of serving these past 6 years. So thank you.
That was incredible. Thank you. I'd like to just cut your whole final comments and share it abroad, because you just eloquently laid out the progress that Poughkeepsie City School District has undergone, and under your leadership as well, Dr. Reeser. Thank you. Trustee O'Neill? Wait, sorry, no, I was like, wait a second, who am I? Trustee Royce Hedon.
Thank you. Before I get to comments on Dr. Reeser and Dr. Rosser, I want to, the 2 individuals that we had a moment of silence for this evening. Miss Adele was just one of the most beautiful souls ever to walk in one of our schools. She was best friends, very dear friends with Trishanella, who's a teacher at Morris for years and years. And I remember I call her Mama Trish, going to Mama Trish's room, and there was her sidekick. So I didn't know her as well as you did, Vice President Creighton, but what a beautiful soul. And the other individual, Neil Burns, again, amazing individual. I also want to congratulate, in the spirit of celebration, our two teachers that we gave tenure to this evening, from Krieger, Karen Macheto and Warren Christina Wynn. So congratulations to them. We also approved the retirement of Mr. Alan Johnson this evening, and I can't believe she's doing it. But January 31st, Michelle Fonts will call it a day. Michelle's a friend. We worked together back in the late 90s and in 2000 at the middle school. And we're at that age. So I want to congratulate both Mr. Johnson and Michelle. And again, reiterate my congratulations to Nadine Dargan, who is present this evening. And I was looking out at her and I just can't believe another dear friend of mine for 25 years. So I'm just so excited for them. Dr. Reeser, when I was a principal in this district, I had to cite a policy for something. I'd called Dr. Rosser with a concern, and he said, address this, Principal Royce, and cite the policy. I don't know if you remember this conversation, Dr. Rosser. It was me, you, and Dr. Watson. She was president at the time. And I went to the policy, and the policy still stood from when I was a senior in high school. And I will celebrate my 35th year out of high school on the 28th. When board president says decades of work that you led, it's true. The policies were still in effect from 20, 30 years ago and more. So I couldn't think of a better person on this dais to lead that work around policy. It made sense to me that you were the committee chair for that work. I have no idea who's going to take it effective July 1st. It won't be me. I don't want. We're the perfect person for it. And I know you acknowledge your shyness. And we're on two ends of the table here, and I'm probably a little more vocal. I am a little more vocal than you, but doesn't mean that you're less committed. And sorry, my asthma's out of control. You're thinking, you're processing, you're taking it all in, and you want to do something with it. And for 6 years, you did something. And so I thank you for the work that you did as a former principal, as a community member who cares about these children, and for your colleague here on this board. Thank you so much. Dr. Rosser, I have prepared words, but I have them written down. And I will give them to you before you leave. And I ask that you open them on your first day in office in Rochester. Congratulations.
Trustee O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam President. Andrew, I'll start with you. It has been an honor and a privilege to sit next to you for the last 5 years and be a part of your leadership capability. Some people lead with outward exuberance. Some people lead with loud voices. Some people lead with wanting to be in the headlines. You, sir, have demonstrated a quiet committed leadership style to this board over the past 6 years. And I will tell you, because you probably don't realize it, and I will tell the world that you're the quiet rock that has made this board the success that it has been. We look to you, sir. You probably don't realize it, but you, in our discussions and executive sessions, you normally have the final say. You normally wait till last. You take all the ideas and all the verbiage into account, and then you articulate your thoughts and your findings, and they are always so well received, so well thought out, so incredibly important to the job at hand. I'm going to miss you, sir, and we're going to miss you. Thank you. Big guy. This hurts because I truly love you. People can talk about all that you've done, all that you are, all that you've said, all that you mean to the district. But one thing about Dr. Eric Rosser always rises to the top. It transcends everything that you say, transcends everything that you do. And that is the love for these kids. Each and every day, in a myriad of ways, you demonstrate that love. You have shown us, sir, how to be a man of character, how to be a man of with a temperament under fire that most men or women don't possess. You have demonstrated to all of us communication skills which are simply beyond. I have never met anyone or had the good fortune to work with anyone in this community who has the communication skills, the ability to say what needs to be said, but always in a way that is acceptable, is in a resourceful manner. Some of us worked hard to get you an extra couple of years on your contract, and unfortunately, that didn't come to pass. But rather than look at what this community is missing by not having you here, I choose to dwell on our good fortune and all of the good things, the decent things, the intelligent things that you have brought to these halls, and the manner in which you have touched each and every child who is our collective responsibility in this community. Thank you, sir. On behalf of the community, on behalf of this board,
Vice President Creighton.
I'm always one to borrow from what people say. And Andrew, you caught it when you said, and it applies to you, character and integrity. both of you guys have character and integrity. And Andrew, I have a special thanks to you. In my previous board, which all those policies you change, I had to spend 2 nights and 3 days locked in the Poughkeepsie Grand to redo the policy manual. It was not my most rewarding time on the board when I look back, but I really appreciate your effort, and you did a great job at it. And I'll go so far, if nobody else volunteers, I will volunteer to take up that committee, and you inspired me.
What? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Pause. We have it on the record. Bob Creedon is taking on the policy committee.
Unless, Eleanor, I don't want to knock you out of the way. I know you're a climber. Feel free to rappel up to the cliff.
Yes.
All right.
Good.
Andrew, occasionally I speak Bob, which means I look at things. He's laughing because he knows exactly what I mean. Like, everybody goes out and turns right, you can count on me to go out and turn left. And once Andrew and I realized we weren't in unison, but we were both going the same way, we learned to use the different views we had. And I'd like to feel it made us more productive, and it sometimes accelerated the pace. And I thank you for that. Dr. Rosser, Eric, it may have took you a little longer to speak, Bob, and appreciate me. I did meet the superintendent. I did meet the superintendent at a bar. I can't remember if it was King's Court or the wine bar. King's Court. And I introduced myself, and I should say he didn't look impressed. Later on, probably one of the most outlandish things I ever did, COVID was hitting. And I printed out the whole protocol from the Food and Drug Administration, barged into his office and dropped it on his desk. All right. Because I didn't think we were going fast enough for going this. And I was technically at the time in the athletic department, which had responsibility for planning. And, and I just remember it was overwhelming. And the only thing that came out of there is I did print every wash your hand posters for the middle school in the district on my own printer. All right. That's the only thing that came out of that. The other thing, as a taxpayer, thank you for my taxes. You've done a hell of a job. And it all goes to, from the previous time on the board, the ability to have good financial structure in place, because you can't even, come to the plate to take a swing into it. And you've done an amazing job on that. And bonding with the community and the community schools makes me look at everything differently. And I looked at and they call me the number man. So now I'm going to ask this number in public. Why did you go to Rochester? I looked at all their stats. You couldn't pick a bigger mountain to climb than Rochester. And I wish if you need anybody to look at your data, just give me a call. But I like to thank you very much. And it was a privilege working with both of you. And I wish you well moving forward. And with that said, I'll pass it on to Madam President.
Board President, I'm so sorry. Don't mind before you have closing remark. I forgot something that I got wrapped up in our guests of honor this evening. I just wanted to shout out some children. I'm all about celebrating our students. Just wanted to give a shout out. I was at the state qualifiers for our track team a couple weeks ago, and just want to give a shout out to our coaches, Coach Conrad, Coach Garriques. In the men's 400, Tyrese Smalls went to state quals, didn't qualify for states, but they qualified to go to state quals, which is a big deal. So Tyrese Smalls, in the men's triple jump, Isaiah Williams, in the men's 100, and Isaiah Avant, in the men's high jump. And I was pacing on his last jump. He almost went to nationals or to states. Senior Damone Whitehorn, he placed second with a height of 6'4". It was outstanding. In the men's 4x100, Jacob Lewis, Tyrese Smalls, Orlando Morgan, and Nazay Avent. For the women in the 400 hurdles, Solera Wood Solomon, she's the third fastest in Poughkeepsie school history in the 400 hurdles, and she's a sophomore. So remember her name. And going to nationals as a freshman, division for the 100 is Nazay Avent, and I'm really super proud of all of them. So I just want to give them a shout out. Thank you.
Yeah, indeed, our track team is, I mean, phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal. It's funny because I was having conversations with two students, one that will be going to a school in Buffalo, one of our graduates this year, and one of our previous graduates last year's graduate that's in Rochester right now. It's so funny because we were just having like this conversation about plans and whatnot and what they're doing. And, they don't have yet, the one that's going to Buffalo has concerns about building community and has struggled building community. So I was like, hey, I got some people in Buffalo. I got some people in Rochester. Let me know if you need any peoples, and we got peoples for you guys. And I believe that because they're our kids. And so I know that even if you're not here, and we do happen to call you for one of our pioneers, that you will step in and support them. So I was debating whether or not I would make this statement, but I feel compelled just to make a statement because I was alarmed by some messages I was receiving today. Couldn't understand why. And so for myself as an individual person, I feel compelled to respond because the issue is that when there's this misinformation or like not really understanding the role and positions that we play as a board, not understanding that there is mixed dynamics that occur. It is natural. But to take it a step further and not understand the impact that could have in people's personal lives, and I'll speak for myself as a single parent that lives in this community that has to make my economics and be able to provide for my children. People don't understand that when they put nonsense out there and don't give context, the liability that has in my personal life that I have to still live. In fact, a council member that showed up makes me feel uncomfortable as a resident because I have some safety concerns that are occurring in my own neighborhood. I deal with violence all the time in my community. In fact, I'm one of the people that prevents the violence from happening to children on my neighborhood. I don't have to talk about these things for you to know about it, but in fact, I do this. And to see this conflict arise, it don't make me feel so good on a personal level to reach out to you. And that's the reality of being in this role. And I don't think people really understand that. So I'm compelled to make this statement. So thank you to everyone who has shared public comments this evening. I've listened with care and reflection. I recognize the importance of community voice. Your presence tonight demonstrates how deeply people care about our schools, our children, and our city. The time I wrote this statement, supposedly there was going to be 100 people here. That said, I cannot ignore that much of what has been circulated recently and even mobilized tonight appears to be retaliatory in nature, rooted not in a pursuit of shared solutions, but in personal agendas and grievances. There is a false narrative being pushed that suggests one person is orchestrating decisions behind the scenes. That is simply untrue. Decisions made by this board, whether related to personnel, facilities, or district directions, are made collectively. Not one board member, including the board president, has the power to unilaterally act or decide on behalf of the full board. I want that to be clear. As someone in my 4th year of serving on this board, I've come to understand how essential and often challenging it is to engage in thoughtful deliberation. When I first joined, I spent time learning the policies, structures, and responsibilities that define our governance. Like any governing body, conversations and strategic discussions occur so members can better understand one another's perspectives. That is a normal and necessary part of the process. However, every official decision that advances this district is made through a public vote by resolution by the full board present. These decisions are not always unanimous. Dissent is a part of a healthy governance team, but discernment is critical. No single board member, past or present, has the right to impose their narrative as the definitive one or to dictate how this board should function or engage in public discourse. On the concern about the late start to our June 4th meeting, the delay was due to an extended executive session where we were addressing sensitive personnel matters, which by law must remain confidential. Executive sessions are not new to this board. In each of the 4 years I've served, and we've been reminiscing on our years, they have been extended on a number of occasions beyond expected timeframes. This is not new. It occurred. This is not new and is not a symptom of dysfunction. It is part of responsibly handling matters that cannot legally or ethically be discussed in public. To the suggestion that transparency is lacking and that cronyism is at play, cronyism is the word. We have a legal and procedural process for hiring and governance. If anyone has proof of wrongdoing, it should be brought to the appropriate channels for review. Unfounded accusations made in open forums can damage reputations and undermine progress, especially when made without evidence. I must also speak personally. Few in Poughkeepsie know my full journey. The sacrifices, the struggles. In fact, no one in Poughkeepsie knows my journey. The sacrifices, the struggles, the long days, the late nights I've endured, including traveling to New York City for 6 straight years, commuted every day, every day. I've endured to serve both this district and my own family. I am a mother to 3 sons, 3 pioneers. While their futures are still unfolding, I dare say they are destined for greatness. And one day, when this community celebrates their contributions, it will also remember that the parent who showed up every day, whether for meetings, volunteer work, advocacy, or governance, despite the cost, the scrutiny, and the personal liability. I will not allow anyone to create barriers to my ability to serve this community or to provide for my sons. I serve with integrity and I stand by my record. Onward and upward, as they say. Let us keep our focus on what matters most, the well-being and success of our students. Dr. Rosser, I'm sure you won't miss that part. But maybe Rochester's similar. We would like to share in cake. We will not adjourn officially at this moment. What we will do is adjourn to go into executive session, and we will close out officially our meeting from executive session. Thank you all for joining us this evening.